Coming up in all angles, it's election season. We look at election trends.
One of the reasons why we are confident of victory is because we have the better team.
Voter turnout, the two-term syndrome, and the balance of power. And thank you so much for staying with us as All Angles continues. Now we have with us in studio Earl Moxham, Special Assignment Editor here at the RJR News Center, Milton Walker, Group Head of News for TVJ, Damian Mitchell, Integration Editor at the Jamaica Gleaner. And we're going to be taking you through some election trends. Now let's start off just with a look at some of the announcements over the years. The announcement meaning the calling of the election by various prime ministers. And let's just start with Parliament last night.
The date fixed for the taking of the polls, that is the general elections for the year 2020, is therefore Thursday, September the 3rd, 2020.
Okay, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this particular announcement because I think a lot of people are watching it or would have seen it, but just very quick comments, Earl Moxham.
Well, the tamest it has ever been, and understandably so.
Given COVID.
Given COVID. Later on, when you listen to some of the others, I think the closest to that would have been Donald Sangster in '67.
Okay.
Yeah, it took away a lot of the fun. I enjoy going to big rallies. The excitement, the building up, leading to the announcement of the date. That's something I generally look forward to, particularly as a journalist. And the crowd at these rallies are generally huge, of course, because they're bussing a lot of people from all over the island, depending on where it is. It's normally a very important moment in our political landscape. Mm-hmm.
I've heard a couple of people say, though, Damian, that announcing the election in Parliament seems suitable. It seems in tune with the dignity of Parliament and the importance of an election in the national consciousness.
I've heard it too, but you can't ignore the culture in which we are. And certainly that part of the excitement is something that gets the crowd going. Certainly for the political parties, it means a lot. The clip didn't show exactly what happened before the announcement yesterday, but when the Prime Minister indicated that time was now, I realized the Attorney General had tugged onto his jacket tail, and I was wondering, what is happening there? For a second, there was seemingly some conference between the Attorney General, the Prime Minister, and I think it might have been Carl Smuda, and then immediately after he made the announcement, I would like to have heard exactly what was going on there.
Yes, maybe one day we'll take somebody aside and find out. Okay, so let's go back in history now. And the first clip we have, Earl, I think this is 1967.
Yes.
The nomination day is going to be 10 o'clock on Monday, the 30th of January. And the date of the election is Tuesday, the 21st of February.
Donald Sangster, he was the senior deputy leader and acting prime minister, senior deputy leader of the Jamaica Labour Party and acting prime minister, of course.
And was in effect running the government at that time.
He was, because Sir Alexander was largely incapacitated, and so Donald Sangster was the de facto leader of the party and the deputy prime minister. So it fell to him to announce the date of the election. That was in halfway tree.
Mm-hmm. And it would have been the first time a prime minister actually didn't announce, the real prime minister.
I would think so.
Didn't announce the date.
Well, we would have had Norman Manley as premier.
Right.
Announcing the referendum, and would have also announced the date for the 1962 election. Mm-hmm. So, yes.
Halfway tree is a favorite spot.
It is.
It has figured over the years in quite a few rallies at which the elections
I think it has been the most used venue. They have also used North and South Parade, depending on which party. Obviously, the PNP would select North Parade. Mm-hmm. because that's where Norman Manley's statue is, and the Jamaica Labour Party would use South Parade because that is where Sir Alexander's statue is, and they have used Sam Sharp Square, used to be Charles Square. And Mr. Holness breaks new ground from time to time. He did the
Mandeville.
Yeah, that was the first outside of the two big cities, right? Yes.
Yes, give the rural people like Damien a look in.
Yes, but at the time too, I recall Danville Walker. I think that was the election in which Danville Walker had challenged Peter Bunting, and it was of great significance because it would have been a huge fight in election, certainly in respect of Manchester Central, with Danville Walker and Peter Bunting. It was one of the targeted seats too, and I think it might have been playing in Holness's book at the time to have drawn more attention to Manchester Central. But did it work?
Not in that election. Not in that election. Okay, so let's move on now, and we have this. This is, we're going to Shearer now in 1972.
General elections shall be held throughout Jamaica on Tuesday, 29th February.
Okay, so we should say that for the earlier elections, as you can see, Earl, what we did is we went into the RGR archive. So what you're hearing, there are radio archival clips, and obviously with the photograph of the Prime Minister. In a short while, we'll come to our video clips.
The thing about that 1972 election, and I know your favorite clip is that of Portia Simpson Miller in 2007, when she did quite a bit in terms of numerology, some say. You go back to 72, what preceded that announcement by Mr. Shearer was him going into a lot of dates of significance. He spoke about Sir Alexander being released from lockup in 1942, and this then 1972 being the 30th anniversary of that. He spoke of the date, these are February dates, and he spoke of his 88th birthday. And so he was tying the nomination day and election day and some other dates of significance. Ultimately, however, he came down on the announcement of the election, setting the date for February 29. It happened to have been a leap year, which also was the birthday of Edna Manley, the wife of the founding president of the PNP and mother of the new president, Michael Manley, against whom he would be contesting that 72 election. And as it materialized, Michael Manley won that election.
We often see, in fact, that gambit of using a special anniversary or a birthday. And of course, that's a two-edged sword, because if you win, then it's a huge celebration. If you lose, as for instance, although he didn't choose it, but the PNP leadership election, which was held on Peter Bunting's birthday, when he went up against Peter Phillips, big celebration all ready to take place, except he lost. And everybody.
And this year, the election on September 3 is the same date as the 2007, which actually was delayed because of the hurricane in 2007, and the election first was for sometime in August
27th,
right, and it was actually held on the 3rd of September.
Somebody should have been knocking wood in Parliament.
Well, the question might be asked, might we have the same problem here? Perhaps we should knock wood.
Hence I'm talking about knocking wood.
Because, oh, you mean in Parliament?
In Parliament the other day.
Yes, because the forecasters have said this is, they've updated the forecast, saying it's going to be an extremely active hurricane season. And September 3rd is kind of right bang in the middle of the period of activity.
September is the most active month for hurricanes.
Except that in this season, there is more than just a hurricane or hurricanes which may be threatening any part of the Caribbean at this time, or by September 3. There is the real issue of COVID-19, and the question is being asked, do you delay or do you go now? And I think the Prime Minister has made a decision that he wants to go now. He says now is the time. You're asking yourself the question, though, has he made a good choice using the minimum number of days between nomination and election? He's used the lowest number, which to my mind is saying that he recognizes that there is the real threat, that the longer he waits, the more precarious it may become.
Well, that will be 9 days short of the anniversary of Hurricane Gilbert. 88. Which actually
September 12th.
Yeah.
What did I say?
No, you're correct. We're just actually giving the date.
which blew Mr. Seaga's timetable for election, of course, in 88. and therefore it was actually held in February of 89.
And therefore there was time for the zinc scandal to develop and
Yes.
for the opposition, in fact, to build up momentum. Always a danger when, well, I don't know if danger is the right word, but when you push back election dates, you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, actually, Mr. Seaga initially benefited from his response to Hurricane Gilbert.
He was
widely praised for how he managed the recovery effort.
Yes.
But but he was losing badly in the polls, heading towards September. Recovered recovered public esteem in the aftermath, but so badly was the country damaged that he wasn't able to capitalize on it for the rest of 88. And by February of 89, Michael Manley's shine again had captivated the people, and therefore the PNP won.
Because up to December, places still hadn't, electricity hadn't been restored.
No.
Up to because it wouldn't have been possible to have conduct an elections, I think, anywhere in 88.
But the reality, though, in those cases, Milton, I mean, people are going to be suffering after a disaster like a hurricane. I'm sure the opposition at any point will be seeking to capitalize on that. And the message of that at that point, of course,
the
is
other
very
thing
critical.
too, Earl, is that the momentum against Seaga had actually swung from the 1986 local government election, which was actually conducted almost like a general election. There were political ads
because
on
the
TV
83
and the
election
paper.
had been uncontested. So people
And
hadn't been to the polls. They felt since 1980.
And the PNP swept, I think, all 13 parish councils at the time. And from 86 on, I think it would have been fair to say I got the distinct impression that the Seaga administration was a lame duck administration.
All right, well, I tell you what, we're at the break, so let's just go to the break, and then we come back and we go through our other announcements and then look at the other issues, voting trends, voting turnout, and so on. Stay with us, we'll soon come.